Co-ownership is a true exercise of the power of community. It's when two or more people come together to make 1 + 1 = 5. And because if it's done right and with the necessary rules and fail-safes, simple co-ownerships usually evolve into real estate investment groups, granting their owners wealth, power, and quite a lot of influence. So imagine owning a company that can handle and deliver on massive projects with massive payouts that will continue to pay out for generations to come. And that's why in this video, we're going to talk about what your experience will be if you decide to join my co-ownership program. Now we'll focus on the key points, and if you still have any questions, leave them in the comments. I promise to respond, or send me a WhatsApp message. My number is on your screen right now. Now we're going to be talking about 5 key points, starting with how contributions will be split, how expenses will be split, how profits will be split, when the property can be sold, and how this program helps you avoid the most dangerous and unfortunately the most common mistakes. Now, how will contributions be split? Let's take an example of Peter, Paul, and Pius, who have decided to buy a home that is worth $500,000. They know that they have to put together money to take care of 3 major things before anything can happen. Number 1 is the down payment, number 2 is the mortgage, and number 3, closing costs. Now for the down payment, they decided to contribute towards a 21% down payment, or $105,000, meaning that each person contributed an equal amount of $35,000 to fulfill this requirement. Next, they needed to borrow the remaining $395,000 from a lender to add to their $105,000 down payment to complete $500K that they need to buy that house. Now, to keep things simple, Peter, Paul, and Pius got a mortgage together and all agreed to handle mortgage payments equally. And for the closing costs, they were advised to contribute 1.5% of the value of the home and keep that aside to be able to pay for legal fees, taxes, and other usual expenses that come up with buying a home in Canada. So in summary, Peter, Paul, and Pius have contributed $35K each for a down payment, or in total $105,000. They've gone ahead and borrowed $132,000 each from a lender, giving them a total of $395,000, and they've also contributed $2,500 each for closing costs, or 1.5% of the value of the home, giving them a total sum of $7,500. It's simple, it's straightforward, everyone's contributing their bit to make sure they have what they need to buy the home. And that's how contributions are typically split. Moving on, how will expenses be split between Peter, Paul, and Pius? Keep in mind, they've all made equal contributions to purchase the home. This means that each person will also make equal contributions to the expenses to keep the home. It's simple and it's short. Now, if Pius decides to live in the home, Pius will be solely responsible for paying the utilities and the regular maintenance bills of the home, because Peter and Paul will not be living there with him. This also means that all 3 owners will still be responsible for paying their own part of the mortgage bill, so they're not going to leave Pius with the whole thing to carry. But if all 3 people decide to live in the home, they will split bills equally and follow a set of rules to make sure things are handled amicably. Now, not everyone is comfortable living in a home with their co-owners, and it can lead to complications, which is why most co-ownerships are formed purely for investment purposes. So they buy the home and they rent it out to someone. But if you're looking for a co-owner that will contribute towards buying the home but not live in it with you, let me introduce to you a co-ownership solution that will help you do exactly that. And it's called Ourboro. So let's say Pius is uncomfortable with living in the home with Peter and Paul, but still wants to buy that $500K house. He still has his $35K, but he doesn't qualify for enough of a mortgage to get things done. Pius can reach out to Ourboro to become a silent co-owner, meaning that they will bring the money that Pius needs, but they don't live in the home with him. They allow him to enjoy his privacy. They'll do this by contributing $65,000 towards a 20% down payment of $100,000, just to make sure Pius can purchase the home, and as a good effect, it also lessens Pius's monthly mortgage payments. Now, because this is not a loan, and Ourboro literally owns the home with Pius is not going to pay any interest or monthly payments to Ourboro. They're partners. It doesn't make sense for one partner to be paying the other. That's how it goes. Now, when Pius has gotten his glow up, he can decide to buy out Ourboro and keep the home for himself. Or if he doesn't want to do that, he can sell the home at a later time and split the profits with Ourboro based on their contributions to the down payment. Speaking about splitting the profits, let's look at how profits are typically split in a co-ownership arrangement. The three wise men went ahead and purchased the home. Each person contributed an equal amount of money to buy and maintain the home, meaning that each person will get an equal amount when the home is sold. As an example, let's say they sold the home for $1 million 5 years later. Let's also assume that the mortgage that they have left to pay off is about $100,000. Now, after paying the bank their $100,000, they have $900,000 left to share between each other. Now, keep in mind, because they all contributed equally to purchasing the home and keeping the home, they all get to split that $900,000 three ways, meaning that each person will get $300,000 and walk away very, very happy. Now, even though it's not necessarily realistic to buy a home for $500K and sell for $1 million, in Canada, it is realistic to buy a home for $500K and sell it for $700K. And if that's the situation, each person will walk away with $200,000 each. So not bad. Now, speaking of selling the home, how do co-owners know when to sell? Well, in this program, certain things can happen to trigger a sale. First thing is, the owners can all unanimously decide to sell the home. No questions asked. Second thing, one co-owner or two can decide to sell their stake in the home pending the approval of other co-owners. Another thing that can happen is that all co-owners have agreed that if the value of the property exceeds a certain level, they immediately trigger a sale. So for example, when Pius, Peter, and Paul see that their home has improved or the value of the home has increased from $500,000 to $1 million, they take their money and they run. It's very simple, it's very straightforward. And unfortunately, the last part is where most co-ownerships go wrong, where co-owners are unable to keep up with the expenses. Typically in this situation, they really don't have a choice. They have to sell just so that they can save their hides. They can save themselves from any issues down the line. Now, I know the last point seems scary, but let's end the video with the ways I've designed this program to help co-owners reach the promised land in one piece. So, number one, to avoid a situation where co-owners can't keep up with payments, we'll adopt a financially responsible approach to managing and collecting funds. This means you are going to have to appoint an accountant. It's mandatory and it's very, very dangerous to get into a co-ownership without an accountant holding your hand. Co-owners will also be required to open a joint account where all their funds will be kept. Co-owners will also subscribe to accounting or bookkeeping software to easily track expenses, so you don't need to rely on Pius to do accounting and you're asking Baba how far and he's now doing anyhow. No, you open your phone, you see what's coming, you see what has gone out. Now, to make sure that this software works to the best of its ability, you hand over the management of finances through that software to your appointed accountant. Once again, this way, there's no need to depend on Pius to provide a breakdown on the way funds have been managed, and then Baba Pius starts to sweat. I'm stressing this because people normally decide to delegate bookkeeping and accounting to a random co-owner, trying to save money, and that's what leads to these types of things over and over again where people are losing a lot of money. Number two, you're going to pre-fund this account to avoid a situation where Pius, I know I'm picking on Pius a lot, but to avoid a situation where Pius can't pay his portion of the mortgage or bills or flat out refuses to pay. Because if he or anybody does this, it can literally wreck each and every person's financial future. So instead of Peter or Paul or somebody chasing Pius to pay to fulfill their obligations, all co-owners will need to fund this account that they've set up with the accountant with about 6 months to 1 year of mortgage costs and maintenance expenses. And you say, oh no, why 6 months or 1 year? Well, if any co-owner has financial problems, the other co-owners have enough time to remedy the situation. I know you're also thinking, but the property is going to be rented out, but think about it. If the rent doesn't cover all the mortgage and the expenses, the owners need to pay that difference. So for example, if the monthly mortgage and expenses come to $3,000 per month and the home is rented out for $2,700 per month, owners have to each contribute $100 to take care of that shortfall. To be prudent, Peter, Paul, and Pius will contribute 6 months of mortgage and expenses, which will come to $18,000 or $6,000 each. The more, the better. And then they will continue to top up that account with $100 each every month to make sure that they still have 6 months of runway to sort things out if Pius or the tenants decide to do anyhow. They are essentially maintaining 6 months of funds in a bank account to take care of any eventualities. Now, speaking of tenants, the program has a partnership with a tenant screening company. This way, we can make sure that the home is rented out to people who will take care of it and not default on payments. And in the event that somebody makes it in and we just don't know why the person is behaving this way, this same company has something called a rental guarantee and a damage protection program to help you protect your assets and your peace of mind. And finally, if Pius is able to convince Peter and Paul to work with other professionals like Pius's own lawyer, his own mortgage agent, his own realtor, accountant, property manager, the list goes on, and Peter and Paul agree because they think it's harmless, Pius can essentially take control of the joint assets because all professionals are his people. And keep in mind, it doesn't need to be all professionals, it just needs to be one. Usually this causes Peter and Paul to spend a long time fighting court cases or voluntarily giving up their stake because of some maneuvers that Pius was able to pull off. Don't trust Pius with all these types of things. And that's why Peter, Paul and Pius have to agree concerning the property that they've bought together not to use the services of professionals who did not work to put the deal together. This way, all the professionals involved are independent, they are verified to be professionals that are allowed to practice in their jurisdiction and quite frankly have a lot to lose if they decide to risk their careers by doing shady things. Because if Peter and Paul agree to work with Pius's secret lover, for example, and they have plans to sell the property and elope to a place that they've never heard of, like Ziawatanejo is actually a real place, check it out, Peter and Paul will lose every single thing. This is pretty much the only thing that will make Pius and Jennifer reconsider their plans to elope. Now, as a summary, and to help you decide if this program will work for you, you now know how contributions will be split, how expenses will be split, how profits will be split, when the property can be sold, and finally, how I help you and how this program helps you avoid dangerous mistakes. In all, if you treat a co-ownership journey with the respect that it deserves, it's something that has the capacity to change your life forever. Now, if you have any questions or you'd like to sign up, my WhatsApp number is on the screen right now. See you in the next one. Have an amazing Christmas. Bye, guys.